to What's Right with the World with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, welcome to What's Right with the World. Today, Ben is going to tell us some really awesome story.
I think so, actually.
I hope so.
This comes from NBC News. A Christian charity is helping to tackle the LGBTQ youth homelessness crisis. So this is a story about a guy named Dan Seberg, who attended a conference about homelessness in 2014. He was surprised to learn about the disproportionate number of homeless youth in the U.S. who were LGBTQ. About 40% of homeless youth are identify as LGBTQ, which is really, really outrageous proportionally, because 7 to 9% of the population identify as LGBTQ. So you're talking about a portion which is 7 to 9% of the total population, but of the population of homeless youth, it's 40%.
Wow.
Which is massive, and one of the reasons that are cited are not being accepted by family and stuff like that. So then they run away, and that's one of the reasons that's given. And what he found was there's a couple in bigger cities like New York and LA, but there are no homeless shelters specifically that cater to this.
And it's almost half the percentage.
Exactly. So he reached out to the ACR Health, which is a fellow Syracuse nonprofit that provides support for people with chronic illnesses and HIV and AIDS. And they operate the Q Center, which is a supportive space for LGBTQ youth. And so they're a Christian organization, and the his Rescue Mission Alliance is a Christian organization. And he said that some people were guarded at first when he brought up the idea, but that everyone was on board quickly.
Wow.
And so they really, their goal is to get people to have a safe place to sleep, and get these kids back on their feet, especially in Syracuse. They have to go about 300 miles to be safe. And he didn't want that, and they didn't want that. So they're doing this thing, and they started this charity, which is huge.
So they're getting out of any judgment and just helping, which is, that to me is what it's all about. What everything's all about. And, the reason I say everything is, that's what I think that's, I don't want to speak for Christians because I don't consider myself a Christian, but I believe that's what being a good Christian is.
I'll speak for Christians.
Okay, there you go.
I believe that I can speak on behalf of all 100% of Christians.
Yeah, and that's, being a good Christian is being loving and kind to your fellow man. So that's what this is. And that's what it's all about. And I think that that's what not only being a good Christian is, but being a good human being is. And that I don't think there's a difference.
No, those two things should not be mutually exclusive.
No, I don't think, and I don't think they are. Sometimes people make them that way, but I think it's the same with being a good Buddhist and a good Hindu and a good, everything. Just it's all religion is there to bring us closer to love, and why would that work unless it was a natural place for us to go as human beings? Like if we weren't supposed to be loving human beings at the core, and then religion came and taught us how to love, it really wouldn't be that effective, because we're kind of not supposed to be that way anyway, But since we're supposed to be loving human beings, and then religions help us become more loving human beings, well, then that's why it's effective. So it's, I just love the big picture thinking, and and getting away from the judgment and going like, well, this is my stand on this. This is my stand on that. It's like, no, how can we be more loving? Do I see a need that we can help our fellow human beings? Yes. Okay, let's do that. And I think that's the beauty of this story.
Absolutely. And I think that, the only stories that we ever hear about this are where these two sides are diametrically opposed.
Right. Most of the time.
And it's...
And I hear, of course, I don't watch the news and I don't hear a lot of the negativity. And this is not the only time that I've heard it. I mean, this is becoming more common, that I hear things like this, that they're not so opposed.
Yeah.
And there isn't the judgment. And even if some people don't agree with it for some reason, that in the Christian community, they're not coming from a judgmental place. They're coming from a loving place. And it's like, okay, we all have the right to have our own opinions. That's how we're all unique. We're all different. It's just we can't hurt one another because of it. And we need to come together and be loving and supportive of one another, even when we disagree. That's the real challenge.
And the more that these positive stories are told, the more light can be shined on it, and that's how things grow, as we often talk about, which is the premise of this show. But if you spend as much time talking about the wonderful things that people can do with each other and for each other as you do about the controversial bad things, then talking about the controversial bad things are going to make people pick a side.
Right, and that's exactly the opposite of what this is doing.
Yeah.
Is like, because in the past we always felt that we needed to pick a side because that's all we were exposed to. Well, are you for this or are you for that? And now just with this story and these types of conversations, we're understanding that there's a lot of gray area in between. You don't have to pick a side. You can actually be a good person, and you can be a good Christian and not go out there and judge people that historically they've had a problem with.
Right.
Like that there is gray area. Because there are obviously people who are very in depth into the Christian community that had to, as you mentioned, kind of wrap their brains around this and say, and they're a little bit opposed at first, but then people explained it to them and they talked about it and they're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see how we can still stand in our values but still help this situation. So that's what the conversation about good does, is it helps us find those places where we don't necessarily have to give up our opinions, but yet we can also be loving and kind about the scenarios too.
And if you have stories like this that you'd want to share, we encourage you to use the hashtag What's Right with the World. And if you want to just share great stories about things that you love, pictures about things that you love, whatever it is, we recommend that you use the hashtag The Great Love Project. If you have something you'd like us to cover, let us know. The Great Love Project on Facebook. You can find Glenn on Glenn Ambrose Life Coaching on Facebook. All of that stuff.
Reach out.
Keep focusing on the positivity.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we hope to hear from you about all this good stuff that you're running into. So thanks for listening. We'll talk with you soon.
Glenn is available for life coaching sessions, in person or via phone and Skype. To book an appointment or for more information, go to glennambrose.com, follow him on Facebook and Twitter, or click the link in the description of this episode.